come 2024, we are going to be women who nourish our relationship with the Lord. But how do we do that? And is it even okay to make goals as a Christian? Let's talk about it. First, let's touch on making plans. So I have my Bible here and I want to read you guys a little bit from 1 Samuel chapter 30. So here David is wondering if he should go into battle because the Amalekites took everyone into captive, including some of David's wives. So in verse 8 it says, "And David inquired of the Lord, shall I pursue after this band? Shall I overtake them? He answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake and shall surely rescue." So what we can take from this small passage of scripture is that David was always inquiring of the Lord. He always desired God's will. He wasn't acting out of his own accord. He waited until he received God's green light and permission. And we too can operate the same way. We always want to be asking ourselves if our desires line up with God's desires. And as we continue to meditate on the word, our desires are going to be shaped into godly ones. So one of the first things I want to touch on as we go into this new year is to give up the ultimatums. Do not go into 2024 saying, God, if you give me this in 2024, I will finally commit to my faith. God is not going to play games with us. You're either in it or you're not. Period. Next, you want to create a space where just you and God are going to be able to meet. This is going to be a place that is sacred, a place that is set apart. This is where you and God can meet face to face. It's supposed to be something that's private, and it doesn't mean that you can't share it with others, but this is going to be like your hideaway place with the Lord. And a few examples of this, you could start a prayer closet. If you don't have space for a prayer closet, you can make a prayer corner or even a prayer wall. Next, you want to make sure that you log everything. It's journaling, whether it's in the form of a video diary, log everything. Being able to see where you were at one point and see where God has lifted you is just so amazing, and you can't do that if you're not keeping track of it in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like another wise reminder is just not to set definite outcomes. Your life could look one way right now, but God gives and he takes away. And sometimes him removing us from things is for the best. So always keep an open mind and heart to allow God to change things the way that he wants to change them and to move them the way that he wants to move them. Let's talk about growing spiritually this upcoming year in 2024. My first tip that I have for you guys is do not just read the Bible, study it. The Bible talks a lot about meditating on his word day and night. As I always say, we don't need an appointment to meet with God. You can meet with the Lord at any time that you want, and everything goes back to that continual fellowship with him. So give yourself time, even if your morning quiet time is, reading a few verses and coming back to it in the middle of the day and then finishing it off in the night. That's typically what I do. But dig deeper this year. Don't just keep everything on the surface. Don't be satisfied with those elementary teachings. Actually challenge yourself to learn more about who your God is. So the next thing is to take steps, not leaps. Lisa Turkhurst actually said this in a book that she made about boundaries, but I feel like it could go for any other area of your life as well. A lot of times when it's the New Year's, we're all excited, we want to make resolutions, but we'll make such drastic leaps and changes that we probably won't end up committing to. I mean, a lot of times that's why the Bible is so strict about not making vows, because we just do not keep them as humans. And it's not that we can't achieve them, it's just that I think we put so much on ourselves to be somewhere or be someone that we're not, when we're like right here and we want to be, on the other side. For example, say you watch a video about fasting. Don't just wake up the next morning and be like, okay, I'm gonna do a 21-day fast. You need time to talk to God about that in prayer. You need time to seek if that's what he wants you to do. You need time to prepare your mind for that. It is great to want to do things for the Lord and to make sacrifices, but again, make sure that you're not making hasty decisions. The same could go for waking up early. For example, if you say, I'm gonna start waking up at 4 a.m. for the rest of my life. Girl, no you're not. Try to take it in smaller chunks. Maybe by saying, I'm gonna wake up early for the next couple of days, or I'm gonna wake up early for the next week. So I did touch on this a little bit, and I typically do this every year, but it's a beginning of the year fast. I do this from honestly whatever is distracting you. The way that I typically do it is in the form of a secular music fast, but there's some other things that I want to fast from this year. And kind of in correspondence with fasting, you need to to get alone with God. You need to be comfortable with being alone with God. And you also need to remember that if God is calling you to a season of isolation, it is not a punishment. Sometimes we think that that's the case, but honestly, if God is calling you to a season of isolation, he probably just wants to get you in an area where all you're seeking is him and him alone. It's really a tool or a measure to draw you closer to him. So don't ignore any of those pushes if you really do need to be in a season of isolation. I think sometimes isolation has such a negative connotation and we think that it just has to be some depressing thing, especially in the winter. No, it's not going to give you wintertime sadness. It's not going to give you seasonal depression. If anything, it's going to help you to be satisfied in God and not find your contentment in another place. And it can also weed out certain people that aren't meant to be in your life. It could be God's pruning in order to prepare you for something that maybe you're not ready for yet, so you need to get alone with him so that you can walk in what he's calling you. And then the last thing that you could do is consider a Bible plan if you are that type of person. And look, sometimes I feel like Bible plans can be really overwhelming, especially if you're a new Christian. I mean, when you think about it, trying to read the whole Bible in a year is just super crazy. I've done it multiple times before, but it can be very overwhelming, as I said. And I feel like it's harder to study the Bible when you're just trying to make it a race to finish before the year is over. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I do think it helps you a lot with discipline and consistency, and it can also help you with what to read if you're not sure. But you just really have to find the plan that works best for you. Maybe that is a Bible in a year plan. Maybe it's a plan on the Gospels or a certain season of life that you're in, but you have to find what works best for you. Some of the things that I've done in the past, I'd say like my favorite way to read the Bible is reading it cover to cover, so Genesis to Revelation, and I don't really give myself like a time crunch on when I need to finish it. Even when it comes to other books, I'm always like, let me finish this book. So I can't do that with the Bible. Time is just not good for me. I have to just read it at my own pace, or else I'll be doing it for the wrong reasons. What I'm doing right now is I'm in the Old Testament. I really love, you know, all the books about like 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, and the Chronicles and all of that. So that's what I'm studying right now. So again, there's a bunch of plans online and on the Bible app if you guys want to check that out. That's all I have for you guys today. Just remember that when you come to Christ, you are leaving the old self behind. And I feel like the new year is always a perfect remembrance of that. They always say don't try to do the same thing and expect new results. So as this year comes to a close, reflect on what did and what didn't work in regards to your faith life. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see y'all in the next one.